इंडिया का जो मार्केट है उसमें चीजें बदलती रहती है, राइट? इट्स अ वेरी डायनामिक मार्केट,
Right.
very difficult to build a startup.
So I've also stalked you on Twitter.
I used to work in the European market और वहाँ पे मोमेंटम एकदम स्ट्रेट लाइन पे ऐसे चलता था। मोमेंटम की ज़्यादा बात इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि मोमेंटम बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, राइट? बट ऑल ऑफ दीज फैक्टर्स आर इम्पोर्टेंट। इंडिया में देयर आर पीपल हु आर लुकिंग एट स्टेबल अर्निंग्स। Obviously, whatever is working for ChatGPT might not be working on financial data, but there are other models that you can work on.
Hi Sonam. So first of all, just want to thank you again कि आप यहाँ आए for this podcast, and I think we are meeting after 6 months, right?
Yes, yes.
And a lot of things have changed over these 6 months. You witnessed some amazing growth in Wright Research also. आपने काफ़ी सारे नए small cases launch किए हैं, and you've also had a great AUM growth. I think you've crossed around 500 crores in AUM. So congratulations for that, first of all.
No, it's been a great time for everybody in the market, right?
Yeah. It's been great for everyone.
Right.
So starting with your background, आपने IIT कानपुर से graduation किया, उसके बाद you worked for a couple of years, उसके बाद आपने masters किया, and now finally you have your own firm. So can you walk us through the entire process कि आपने कैसे ये सब accomplish किया and finally आपने company start की?
No, definitely. So Sanjana, I think my journey is similar to a lot of people that I see. I see so many people who are chemical engineers and now interested in finance. So I had the same journey, right? I sort of graduated from IIT in chemical engineering. I was always interested in numbers and data. And I worked for a year in chemical engineering with Reliance, and I sort of realized, no, I want to work with something else, maybe more technology driven, more data driven. I experimented with tech a little bit, and then I found finance. I did CFA. I got my first job at Upsurge Capital, which was India's one of the first quant funds in India. I got an opportunity to work there, and really picked it up. I thought I found my calling, so I worked there for around 4 odd years. They got acquired by Edelweiss, where I worked with Edelweiss with them. And yeah, I really enjoyed what I was doing. And then I did this master's course with quant University, along with, I shifted to HSBC in the quant role back then. So, I really enjoyed working on this thing, and, that's a journey I've taken. And 2019, I realized कि अभी खुद से करते हैं। इंडिया में भी लोग नहीं करते, फॉरेन मार्केट के लिए तो कर लिया। India may let's offer these quant strategies to everybody, because people coming into the market right now are much more aware of all this.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great idea, because people seem to like what we are doing.
Yeah, and you were quite ahead of your time, I would say. क्योंकि उस टाइम पे ज़्यादातर फंड मैनेजर्स डिस्क्रेशनरी पोर्टफोलियोज हैंडल कर रहे थे.
बिल्कुल.
एंड यू आइडेंटिफाइड दैट गैप, आई थिंक. और
मुझे और कुछ आता नहीं था.
नो, बट दैट प्लेड आउट वेरी वेल. तो ये आपने गैप आइडेंटिफाई कैसे किया कि क्वांट स्ट्रैटेजीज बनाते हैं और मशीन लर्निंग और AI ड्रिवन, डेटा ड्रिवन टेक्निक्स के साथ एम्प्लॉय करते हैं? हाउ डिड यू बिल्ड अ टीम अराउंड दिस? बिकॉज इट्स टफ, राइट, फाइंडिंग दोज काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स इन द मार्केट.
बिल्कुल. तो संजना, मैं ऐसी स्ट्रैटेजीज पे काफ़ी टाइम से काम कर रही थी, है ना, और इंडिया मार्केट पे खुद से भी स्टडी किया और अप्लाई करके देखा और पोटेंशियल दिखा, क्योंकि आपको जो इंडिया का जो मार्केट है उसमें चीज़ें बदलती रहती है, राइट? इट्स अ वेरी डायनामिक मार्केट, राइट? देयर सो मेनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज, थिंग्स कीप ऑन चेंजिंग. दैट इज व्हाई क्वांट वर्क्स, राइट? इंस्टेड ऑफ अ डिस्क्रिशनरी ट्रेडर जो लेके स्टॉक पिक करके वो बैठ जाते हैं कि ठीक है, आई विल लेट इट ग्रो.
Correct.
But in India, things change very rapidly. Trends come and go. That is why quant works really well. We thought कि there's opportunity is there. हमने momentum investing को experiment करके देखा, हमें potential दिखा. So when I started Wright Research, I ran that strategy on my own money for some time. I saw it was working, so I took it out. Fortunately, people recognized what we were doing, and we got this. And I think it's been a journey. It's very difficult to build a startup, especially when you start alone. And so building a team, getting smart people to work on different areas, right? And getting that same passion that you have put in is extremely difficult.
Definitely,
so
yeah.
It has been.
एंड ये क्वांट स्ट्रैटेजीज जो है, जो मशीन लर्निंग और AI ड्रिवन है, इसको आप सिंपल टर्म्स में ब्रेक डाउन कर सकते हैं कि इसका मतलब क्या है?
बिल्कुल. तो जो क्वांट स्ट्रैटेजीज होते हैं, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वो वही काम कर रहे हैं जो नॉर्मल इन्वेस्टर ही करता है, राइट? अगर आपको मार्केट में अच्छे रिटर्न्स बनाने हैं, तो आप एक ट्रेंड पकड़ते हो, या तो आप किसी स्टॉक की वैल्यूएशन देखते हो, या स्टॉक के ग्रोथ नंबर देखते हो, फंडामेंटल। तो वही काम जो एक डिस्क्रिशनरी ट्रेडर करता है खुद से, हम क्या करते हैं, हम उस तरह के रूल्स सिस्टम में बना देते हैं। अब सिस्टम में बनाने से फायदा क्या होता है कि आप उस पे बहुत सारे स्टॉक्स पे लगा के देख सकते हो, है ना। एक स्टॉक की जगह एक तो सिस्टम है, तो आप काफी स्टॉक्स को एनालाइज कर सकते हो, आप तरह तरह के रूल्स पे एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हो, आप उसकी कॉम्बिनेशन अलग अलग सिनेरियो में स्टडी कर सकते हो, उससे आप उसको बेटर फाइन ट्यून कर लोगे। तो रैशनल तो सेम ही है, हम भी मोमेंटम ही ढूंढ रहे हैं, यू नो सम डिस्क्रिशनरी ट्रेडर माइट आल्सो बी लुकिंग एट मोमेंटम ओनली, बट वी आर डूइंग इट इन अ थोड़ा सिस्टमैटिक फैशन, इन थोड़ा रिसर्च बेस्ड एंड थोड़ा रिगरस फैशन, जिससे कुछ बेनिफिट्स निकल के आते हैं। और once you have something that is built on data and numbers, you can start using some machine learning or algorithms on top of it and try to improve it further. So I think that is the whole thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, do you require coding? इसके लिए कुछ coding का knowledge चाहिए beforehand to make such a system?
See, मतलब we do use Python programming, which is very simple, right?
Yeah.
So we do work a lot using coding, or some data science sort of stuff, which is I think required. But now I think things have evolved a lot, right? So there are no code frameworks where you can do a lot of analysis using dashboards and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think you have to be able to understand a little bit of statistics to understand patterns and all that, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
So I've also stalked you on Twitter and I know that you read a lot of books.
Yes.
आप markets पे भी पढ़ते हो, businesses के बारे में भी पढ़ते हो. तो have you translated some of their learnings in your investment journey? कुछ आपने ऐसी कुछ learnings जो हमारे viewers को आप बता पाएंगे?
Yeah, definitely. So I typically, if I am studying or if I have an idea, I would typically go to start reading research papers, or any book or publication that I have. That's how I start for any idea. That's how I go about it. So a lot of ideas that I have worked on have come through reading papers or reading books and ideas, and obviously building a business and working on setting our own strategies. So learned a lot of very good lessons from books. Like I read a book by on Jim Simonson on how he built the Renasa Technologies Fund.
Oh,
right? So it was more about his journey, how he went through and what are the ups and downs he had. So that was a great book to read. I've read a lot of interesting books on business and time management and this and that. So it's always very helpful, right?
That's nice.
Yeah.
Or about quant strategies in particular, like we know that you follow momentum and factor investing, but out there in the market और कौन सी quant strategies है जो लोग देख सकते हैं?
See, quant can be used anywhere, right? So अगर आप stock picking कर रहे हो, तो उसमें प्राइमरी लोग फैक्टर इन्वेस्टिंग में ऑल ऑफ दीज फैक्टर्स, मोमेंटम की ज्यादा बात इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि मोमेंटम बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, राइट, बट ऑल ऑफ दीज फैक्टर्स आर इम्पोर्टेंट. सो फैक्टर इन्वेस्टिंग जब आप इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो दैट इज वन थिंग पीपल डू ऑन क्वांट. पीपल लुक एट रिस्क मॉडलिंग, राइट, कि मार्केट कब बुल से बियर मार्केट हो जाएगा, उसको कैसे प्रेडिक्ट करें. तो उस तरह के मॉडल्स पे लोग काम करते हैं, वो एक तरह का रिसर्च होता है. उसके अलावा पोर्टफोलियो की स्टॉक्स पे आप वेट कैसे दोगे, राइट, स्टॉक्स तो पिक कर लिए, अब किसमें कितना वेट जाएगा, उस पे भी बहुत सारी रिसर्च जाती है, ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एक्सेट्रा. तो ये हो गया स्टॉक पिकिंग में. ये क्वांट में मतलब इसके और भी प्लस माइनस दे आर वेरियस थिंग्स दे पीपल डू. along with it, options is a big area जहाँ पे लोग quant use करते हैं, right? So options is all based on these Greeks and numbers, right? So different types of strategy people will bet on shorting, selling an option, making money from theta, or betting on volatility. There are a bunch of different strategies that you can play around with in options, which is quantitative. You can play around with futures or going long short. So जैसे हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं स्मॉल केस पे, वी आर बाइंग स्टॉक्स, बट व्हाट यू कैन आल्सो डू इज अलोंग विद बाइंग यू सेल वन स्टॉक सो दैट आपका रिस्क थोड़ा कम हो जाए. सो दोस टाइप ऑफ दैट इज कॉल्ड स्टैटिस्टिकल आर्बिट्राज. उस तरह के भी होते हैं. उसके अलावा आप हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी पे चले जाओ, मतलब व्हिच इज वेयर यू आर ट्रेडिंग इंट्राडे वेरी फास्ट. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ स्कैल्पिंग होता है. Yeah. So there's a lot of quant. So there is so many use cases of quant. We're just doing one bit of it. We want to do more, but it's all very exciting. And
so can you tell us about what factor investing में कौन से major buckets आते हैं? जैसे आपने एक momentum बोला, और कौन से फैक्टर्स आते हैं इसमें?
Right. So I'll tell you my story on how I learned factor investing, right? So I remember in 2015-16, momentum was something that worked really well.
हाँ.
So I used to work in the European market और वहाँ पे momentum एकदम straight line पे ऐसे चलता था.
Okay.
It was doing so well. It was, but then one fine day the market corrected a little bit and suddenly momentum did not work, right? At that point in time, एज अ फ्रेश इन्वेस्टर आई वाज लाइक कि यार ये स्ट्रेट लाइन की स्ट्रेटजी मिल गई है, ये चलती रहेगी. बट देन व्हेन वी सॉ कि अच्छा मोमेंटम में देयर इज अ ब्रेक, मोमेंटम इज नॉट वर्किंग एनीमोर, दैट इज व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड, वी हैड अ फैक्टर का डेटा का सेट, इसमें स्टार्टेड एक्सप्लोरिंग अदर स्ट्रेटजीज एंड वी फाउंड आउट कि ओके वैल्यू वर्क्स व्हेन मोमेंटम डज नॉट वर्क, राइट? इन्वेस्टिंग इनटू अंडर वैल्यूड स्टॉक्स विल वर्क व्हेन हाई मोमेंटम स्टॉक्स आर नॉट वर्किंग. सिमिलरली betting on high quality stocks we found out works really well in India, right?
Okay.
क्योंकि इंडिया में there are people who are looking at stable earnings, right, and not very high risk. So quality stocks have a lot of potential. Similarly, growth is always, so people are looking at growth. And in India, smaller stocks work really well. So that is something people call size factor in factor investing. So small stocks doing better than large stocks, which is a phenomenon that everybody knows. And then there are so many unique things in India, right? So we've discovered how promoter holdings changes will impact a company, right? Or how analyst rating a particular company impacts a company. So we keep on exploring and trying to find out what factor that we can find out. Right? Like last year we understood कि जिस स्टॉक का इंटरेस्ट रेट पे एक्सपोजर है, राइट, उससे कैसा फर्क पड़ता है, किसका चाइना पे एक्सपोजर है उससे कैसा फर्क पड़ता है. तो यू कीप ऑन एक्सप्लोरिंग एंड ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट कि कहाँ से एक आपको पोटेंशियल रिटर्न मिल सकता है, राइट?
Got it. So you mentioned about momentum investing. पर अभी एक ये डाउट मेरे दिमाग में काफी टाइम से है कि we are always taught that you should buy low and sell high, right? पर momentum investing में कैसे रहता है कि you buy high and sell higher, right? This is what I've learned. So but how do you execute this? Because this is very counterintuitive, right? So how do you identify such stocks?
Right. See, I think both of these things work. Buy low, sell high also works, and buying high and sell high also works. But these two things work in two totally different markets, right? So in the market, like whatever we have seen from last March, है ना, आप किसी भी स्टॉक को टॉप पे खरीदते वो तो भागते ही जा रहे हैं, अभी भी भाग रहे हैं ना. जैसे डिफेंस के स्टॉक्स ले लीजिए, तो इट्स ऑल रनिंग अप, राइट? इवन दो दे माइट हैव रन अप 100%, राइट? This is because we are going through a bull market, right? Where a certain trend has been formed, right? Due to whatever reason, due to the growth story in India, or due to, there's a lot of potential being in these sectors.
Correct.
This trend has picked up, and the trend has picked up because thousands and millions of people have jumped into this particular trend, right? So as a momentum investor, we just take advantage of the trend. We see कि okay, trend बन गया है, so let's pick up irrespective of valuation. Let's go with the trend, and whenever we see that it has reached the top, or there is a mispricing at the top, then we will exit it. So that is buying high and selling high. But on the other hand, if you're going through a volatile phase जहाँ पे high growth stock की इतनी demand नहीं है ना, तो वहाँ पे लोग value stock ढूंढना चालू करते हैं. So which is where you're buying low and selling high works really well. And buying high and selling high is simple. Na? You can just pick up the stocks that are trending the highest. Yeah.
बट वो हमेशा डाउट रहता है कि अभी इतना हाई ऑलरेडी टच हो चुका है, नाउ इट्स श्योर गोइंग टू रिवर्स. So that doubt also keeps creeping in your mind.
So I think, see, you have to also as an investor make sure that you're looking at the company कि भाई उसकी earnings तो आ रही है, उसका price बढ़ते जा रहा है. Is the earning compounding? Is the company doing well, or is it just like a bubble that's forming, right?
Right.
If the company in fact is rising for a particular reason, so like right now infrastructure stocks are rising because of the government capital being put in it. There is a reason for them to be rising, right? So which is why it's justified.
Correct.
Right? But if it is not justified, it's just blowing up without any reason, then you have to be a little bit careful. Right?
So because you said कि वो bubble form होता है, अडानी stocks जैसे है, उनका momentum काफी dramatically shift हो गया था after the news that broke out. So how do you manage allocation in such cases where some stocks?
So I think couple of years back, and once last year also. So when it happened a couple of years back, investors that we had, see, it was a corporate governance issue. It was a large, massive company, and then some red flag comes.
Yeah.
So we could not anticipate it, right? And if something like that happens, we stay away from the stock for a while till there is a clear signal. Fortunately, when the last time when the big crash happened in Adani stocks, we did not have those stocks in our portfolio because Adani stocks had started seeing volatility even before that. So we fortunately had quit those stocks beforehand. But yes, I think when corporate governance issues come, there's nothing that you can do. And I just hope that as the market is evolving in India, right, the market is growing and it's becoming much more efficient. So I hope such issues will not happen.
Yeah. So, when you're identifying stocks, are there specific numbers या कोई metrics जो आप देखते ही हो कोई भी stock pick करने से पहले? Discretionary fund managers तो अपने हिसाब से they check out numbers, but is there a systematic approach because you are dealing with quant?
Yeah, so I look at a bunch of numbers, right? So all the factors that I talked about, right? So from momentum, there is a particular score, momentum score that we assign to a number, to a stock, or similarly value का score होता है, quality का score होता है, उनके risk का score होता है, right? So whenever a stock is being picked, so we see how is it being ranked in all of these metrics that we believe in. Right, if let's say it's a high momentum stock, but suddenly I'm seeing कि उसकी default probability बहुत high है, तो we will go and have a check कि भाई ये stock को होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए, because at the end of the day, see, we follow a systematic approach, but before we pick that stock or give it out to investors, we do one level of due diligence, because it's real money, right? So you want to make sure that no news or no event has been missed by the algo.
Got it.
Yeah, so if the stock is ranking high on one thing, but it is showing a red flag somewhere, so we sort of go and check it, do the due diligence and avoid it if there is an issue.
Right.
But we actually track some 8-10 metrics very diligently to make sure that the stock is ranking across all the metrics.
And in terms of corporate governance, like you said, तो उसमें आप कुछ फाउंडर मैनेजमेंट स्टोरी या ऐसा कुछ ये पैरामीटर्स देखते हो which are more qualitative, not quantitative?
No, not really. So, but yeah, see, we try to quantify that also.
अच्छा.
What that means is कि if you look at how consistently the profit has been growing, how efficiently the company is using its assets, right? What is the ROE and how consistent has that been? What is the stability of the earnings? So basically, performance metrics of the operator of that particular company, we try to quantify it. We don't just look at point in time, but their consistency and the aberrations that might happen. And we do use a number of metrics, but again, all quantitative. We're not going to analyze that.
Got it. Because that gets very specific, और वो फिर पूरा research करना पड़ेगा.
We are, in fact, trying to identify, look at text data. तो अभी तो AI has evolved so much. We're trying to do is कि news में से if we can see, obviously we can't get everything, but let's say any red flag, right? कि corporate governance में कोई issue आ गया है या फिर some management is resigning or something like that is happening. If we can pull that data and analyze its impact, so we are sort of studying that right now.
Actually, I had recently read a report जिसमें लिखा था कि 80% of data that is out there is actually unstructured. मतलब ये जो text वाला data है, जो comments बोलते हैं लोग. So all this, it's really important to capture that also. So yeah. And because you're mentioning this, what are some of the risks associated with quant strategies, and how do you navigate through them?
See, there are risks, as in we typically don't go to very small stocks, right? क्योंकि I know for a fact कि छोटे stock का data इतना अच्छा है नहीं. If I'm taking decision based on that data, I can't rely on it, right? So if you look at other people who are publishing strategies, you would see they might have more smaller stocks compared to us, क्योंकि हम लोग छोटे stock पे काम नहीं कर पाते. And so that is one thing. Until unless we have reliable data, we cannot work on that. Second is it is systematic, right? So you might have built it on historical data. Sometimes what people do is they overfit it. पिछले डेटा पे इतना फिट कर दिया कि अगर हिस्ट्री वुड टू रिपीट इटसेल्फ, दे विल मेक क्रेजी अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, बट they are not accounting for any unforeseen risk situations, right? They just overfit it on historical data. If something unforeseen happens, then the strategy would be like, yeah, कुछ
हाँ
नया हो गया and it goes berserk. So you have to make sure कि you're not overfitting on past history, making sure कि कि things will go haywire in the future also, and
हाँ
account for the risk, etc. I think there is a risk of if you're relying on one signal, then one signal could get crowded, right? कि let's say I'm looking at just price trend 12 months.
हाँ
If everybody starts doing that, then the signal will go away, right? Because
right
everybody's sort of
right
doing it.
because
So
everybody's identified that one parameter of it.
yes, yeah. So
Got
that's why
it.
we try to look at multiple parameters so that our strategy
Okay.
doesn't get crowded. We try to diversify our exposure so that single stock पे कोई risk भी आ गया तो it diversified across the board. We diversify our sector exposure. We don't bet on one sector, right? We diversify that across sectors. We use asset allocation component. We change our risk based on the market conditions. So we have a lot of risk management built on top of the the signal,
Yeah.
right? I think that is
Understood. And like a personal question that I'm throwing at you, how do you manage risk in public portfolio, and how does it differ from your personal portfolio that you manage for yourself?
so I to just invest into all the strategies that we create.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all I do. And yeah, so you see, we do the utmost to manage the risk, right? We like this diversification. This part is there in all of our strategies. What we typically like when I'm investing, I have certain allocation which is much more safer in a debt fund or debt linked instrument.
Okay.
And that's what we tell people that depending on your stage in life, you should have some allocation to slightly safer assets, maybe save something for for an emergency fund or this and that. Right? Well, outside of it, whatever you want to grow, you invest. That is your equity allocation, and our strategies I think fit very well into the equity allocation because in none of our strategies we take some extra risk or make it very high risk that the investor cannot allocate to them. We have a very diversified exposure with a lot of risk management built in.
Got it.
Yeah, so that is what we like. I also do in my personal portfolio.
Yeah. And how do you analyze the performance of your strategies? वो backtest कैसे होता है? All of that.
So backtesting is very tricky, Sanjana, because see, like you might have seen a screener कि हमने rule बता दिया, this is the criteria जिसके through stocks आ गए, right? And let's say simple strategy is कि हम equal weight सबको दे देंगे, 10 स्टॉक आ गए, टॉप 10 को हमने equal weight दे दिया 10% और हमारा पोर्टफोलियो बन गया. तो वो तो आज तो हो गया. अब मेरे को उसको अगर बैक टेस्ट करना है 10 साल के लिए तो मुझे 10 साल का डेटा चाहिए,
right.
है ना, और 10 साल का सारा स्टॉक का फंडामेंटल एंड पॉइंट इन टाइम चाहिए. मुझे ये भी चाहिए कि भाई जो स्टॉक नया आया था, अभी मान लो मेरा 500 स्टॉक का यूनिवर्स है, तो whichever stocks are in the top 500 today, they were not in the top 500 2 years back, right? So I need stocks that were in the top 500 2 years back, right? I need any stock जो delist भी हो गया, I should have it, right? क्योंकि अगर उसको हटा दिया तो I'm biased.
Makes sense.
So there's a lot of work that you need to do in making sure you have correct set of data.
Okay.
Right, and then you have to apply that. So I think quant में I would say 50% of the work is fighting with data, cleaning data, making sure data is good, and then you apply and and then you study कि भाई historically काम कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है.
So when you're doing all this data cleaning and everything, can you attribute for sure कि इन factors की वजह से मेरा performance इतना अच्छा गया है? जैसे momentum एक बहुत dominant factor है, तो वो आप for sure ऐसे attribute कर सकते हो through your models?
Yes. So जो factor investing की जो philosophy होती है, what it says is कि देखो मेरे 8 factors हैं. Let's say take an example of MSCI, वो publish कर रही है मेरे 8 factors हैं. They just say कि my return is a function of these 10 factor का exposure plus something that which cannot be explained, which is the alpha component, right? But they say कि यार 90% हम factor से exposure से हम सब explain कर देते हैं.
Okay.
Right? So exposure to momentum, I can attribute कि momentum की वजह से कितना आया और value की वजह से कितना आया. Obviously हमको जब वो फैक्टर्स बना रहे होते हैं तो वी हैव टू डू थोड़ा सा डेटा प्रोसेसिंग, मेकिंग श्योर कि वो आपस में कोरिलेटेड नहीं है, नहीं तो फिर नहीं हो पाता. तो ऑल दैट डेटा प्री प्रोसेसिंग यू डू व्हेन क्रिएटिंग दोस फैक्टर्स, बट आफ्टर यू डन दैट देन यू कैन एट्रीब्यूट.
So lately small caps and mid caps have been outperforming by a huge extent in the markets. तो आप इस स्मॉल कैप और मिड कैप स्पेस में कौन सी इंडस्ट्री पे यू आर बेटिंग हाई?
तो स्मॉल एंड मिड कैप पे हमने मार्च के बाद से एवरीबडी इज बेटिंग ऑन दैट,
या
राइट? सो वी हैव हैड एक्सपोजर इन, लाइक आई सेड, डिफेंस, रेलवे फॉर अ व्हाइल. हमने थोड़ा तो एक्सपोजर कम भी किया है क्योंकि इलेक्शन आने वाले हैं, राइट? एंड आई थिंक बिफोर द इलेक्शन व्हाट यू सीन हिस्टोरिकली इन टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेंड इज कि स्मॉल कैप पे थोड़ी वॉलिटिलिटी आती है,
हाँ
लार्ज कैप्स आर रिलेटिवली स्टेबल. तो हमने लार्ज कैप पे थोड़ा एक्सपोजर बढ़ाया है. एंड what has also happened is कि a lot of the stocks that we had, small and mid caps, वो इतना ग्रो कर चुके हैं कि सेबी ने उसको मिड अपग्रेड कर दिया, मिड एंड लार्ज
अच्छा
कैप में, राइट?
ओके
So but yeah, we bet on a lot on power finance, we bet a lot on, shipping, defense, this and that. Recently we've had additions somewhere linked to cement, metals, real estate, etc. as well, right? So अभी भी थोड़ा तो cyclical exposure है, even though थोड़ा it's more larger companies right now. And I
राइट
think that will change as the market shifts.
Got it. And do you, matlab, I understood that you track factors like value, growth, and momentum. But is there, in your analysis, do you give weightage to macroeconomic factors like, जैसे US ने अभी थोड़ा interest rate ease कर दिया है because inflation control में आ गया है. तो वो चीजें आप कुछ भी account करते हो in your analysis?
Definitely. So that is where we use that for risk modeling, right?
Okay.
So in our strategies where we are trying to give allocation to stocks, we say कि this is the amount of risk you can take, right? I can tell the model कि भाई 20% risk ले लो, है ना? 20% risk लेना है तो it will create a combination of stocks जो उस बजट में आ जाए, right? अब अगर यूएस ने मान लो रेट बढ़ा दिया,
हाँ
तो उससे ऑटोमेटिकली रिस्क बढ़ जाता है, राइट? हमारा मार्केट का रिस्क बढ़ जाता है, राइट? इफ दैट हैपेंस तो हम कहेंगे कि अब थोड़ा हम सेफर हो जाते हैं क्योंकि मार्केट में रिस्क बढ़ गया. तो हम स्ट्रैटेजी को बोलेंगे भाई 20% से 15% रिस्क ले लो, रिस्क कम कर लो, है ना? तो रिस्क कम किया तो सम ऑफ द वेरी वोलेटाइल स्टॉक्स और सम ऑफ द वेरी हाई वैल्यूड स्टॉक्स विल गो आउट, स्लाइटली सेफर स्टॉक्स विल कम इन. सिमिलरली जब रेट कट हुआ तो विल से कि यार फेवरेबल सिनेरियो हो रहा है, यू कैन टेक रिस्क. So automatically, the stocks that have slightly higher risk will start getting allocation. So that's how the adaptiveness happens. And all of this, 15%, 20% example I'm saying is also systematic. It's not like कि 20 से कि भाई अभी 20% है. It is based on कि macroeconomic के हिसाब से हमने forecast किया कि risk कैसा होगा. Right, based on the rates or based on the inflation or GDP, कि risk क्या होगा, उस हिसाब से भी adapt.
Understood. Hi guys, if you found this discussion interesting and are interested in factor investing, then please check out our course which has been curated by Sonam Srivastava herself on Upsurge.club. The link to the course is in the description. So अभी OpenAI और Google Bard और ये सब के rivalry में, I think India is also taking advantage of AI and ML tools quite a lot. It is trying to adapt to the changing environment. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि इस इंडस्ट्री में, इन्वेस्टिंग इंडस्ट्री में कैसा इम्पैक्ट रहेगा इन द फ्यूचर फ्रॉम ऑल दीज टूल्स?
बिल्कुल. देख, तो अभी राइट नाउ आई डोंट थिंक कि ओपन एआई या चैट जीपीटी हमको अच्छा स्टॉक रिकमेंडेशन देता है.
डेफिनेटली नॉट.
Yeah, definitely not. If you go to Google Bard and ask को कहेगा रिलायंस खरीद लो, that's all it does. तो आई डोंट थिंक उन टूल्स में इन्वेस्टिंग का कोई इंसाइट है. ऑब्वियसली दे कैन हेल्प यू इन प्लानिंग, राइट? जैसे आपको एक पूछते हो कि भाई एसेट एलोकेशन मेरे एज पे क्या होना चाहिए, दे कैन give you output की ठीक है, look at these factors and all that. They can be helpful in that sense, but in terms of investing and picking stocks and all, I don't see that potential.
Okay.
Every time you ask it कि economy में क्या होने वाला है, they will say कि सब अच्छा हो रहा है. That is what it will say. So I don't think कि उससे इन्वेस्टिंग में इतना कोई इम्पैक्ट आने वाला है. बट जनरेटिव एआई जो टेक्नोलॉजी है, I've seen researchers trying to use it with financial data and trying to come up with something or the other using that technology. The challenge with financial data, Sanjana, is कि LLM बहुत बड़ा एक large language model होता है जो बिलियंस ऑफ डेटा पॉइंट पे लर्न करता है. फाइनेंशियल मार्केट में 20 साल का डेटा है हमारे पास, है ना? उतना डेटा ही नहीं है जिसपे एक कितना बड़ा मॉडल लर्न कर पाए. और एंड इट्स आल्सो वेरी नॉइजी, राइट? इट्स नॉट वेरी लाइक टेक्स्ट, वेरी सीक्वेंशियल. So it is challenging, but there are different models at work, and that research is going on. And I think with the growth of AI, OpenAI and all that, what has happened is people have started believing in this. They understand, somebody who's trying to use AI in financial market is trying to do something good, so which has
Yeah.
been good. And I think that research is extremely interesting, and obviously whatever is working for ChatGPT might not be working on financial data, but there are other models that you can work on. right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Sonam, we have a huge audience who are currently watching this podcast with us. Would you like to give some advice on how they can start their investing journey and make the best use of it?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that even my journey hasn't been the smoothest, right? I didn't wasn't born picking stocks.
Yeah.
I have done my fair bit of experiments and failed very badly, and then learned. I think you should understand that it's a journey. You don't get to do everything perfectly on day one. It's a journey, and I think the most important thing when you're looking at the markets is obviously there are amazing opportunities, right? That's why everybody's interested, but you have to learn it, right? It's something that doesn't start on day one, right? Have a focus on trying to understand concepts and understand what are the risks that are out there. I remember first time I made money, I thought कि ठीक है आज बन गया अब every day I'll make money and I'm going to be rich, but that doesn't happen. The other day you will lose that
Yeah.
money and then you realize कि यार ऐसा नहीं होना है, right? So I think that's a journey that you learn. You have to make, if you want to make money and grow it at a good pace in the market, you have to understand कि downturns भी आने ही आने हैं, and only if अगर आप जब market गिरेंगे, if you're patient then only you will get the long term benefit out of it.
Right.
So be patient with the market, try to understand what's happening, and there are amazing opportunities. So keep up the enthusiasm. I think looking at channels like yours, I think is amazing amazing way for them to learn, right?
Right.
Different concepts,
Right.
yeah.
So to summarize your points, first, upskill yourself,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Upsurge.club is doing. Second, be patient in the market, stick to
Right.
it, and you will get the rewards.
Right.
So great advice, Sonam.
Yeah.
अभी बस एक last segment बाकी है, rapid fire round है. You
Hmm.
cannot think and you have to be very quick with your
Right.
answers. So I'll start. How old were you when you first made your investment?
So I I used to play around with my dad's trading terminal when I was in school, but I never
Okay.
invested. I remember I started investing when I was in Edelweiss 2011, 12.
Okay.
And I used to see a lot of research analysts and people doing all of these things, and I would also start picking. I would go to Srinagar and I would try to pick stocks. I would look at, companies around me कि oh Jet Airways इतना अच्छा flight है तो Jet Airways खरीद लो, these type of stuff. But slowly and steady I learned and I sort of got a little better.
Nice, interesting.
Yeah.
Which was the stock that you bought and why?
The first stock that I would have bought, I think, would have been some small and mid caps in the India market. I remember one of the first stock that worked really well for me. I had picked this stock called Indo Count Industries based on all of these traders and whatever I was studying in CFA, some apply karke. I used to do all this and I had picked that, and then that stock I used to get 10, 12 rupees. It went to grow up to like 700, 800, 1,000. That was the craziest thing that I ever saw. And I thought, okay.
Confidence must have gone.
Yeah, but that was the market.
Yeah.
2013, 14,
That's nice.
Stock used to just multiply like
Yeah,
that, right?
true. Investing in India or the US, which would you always choose?
I think India has better opportunities for sure,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah.
I would tell people in the US to also invest. Yeah.
FIIs should pump
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
One piece of advice you'd give to your younger self.
Piece of advice I would give my younger self is again the same thing that I told to the viewers. Always be a little bit more informed, right? Learn a little bit. Don't from what my journey has been, right? I sort of realized that the opportunities definitely were there out there as well. You look at one thing, you get stressed about it, and you evaluate yourself based on that. I would say explore different things, learn what all is out there, and make informed decisions. Same for investing, same for your career path into it.
Got
right?
it.
Yeah.
One investing mistake you would never like to repeat.
Investing mistake that I would never like to repeat is, I think I worked a lot on the derivative side in my previous life. And along with working on derivative algos, I would take some speculative bets,
Okay.
putting more money than I should have into,
Risky assets.
unhedged risky assets, which I think people shouldn't do, right? So even right now, if an investor comes to me and says कि यार ये कर रहा हूँ साथ के साथ कह रहा है do option trading on some margin, I tell him कि don't do it. If you have to experiment with it, put less than 5% of your capital. Be a little
Oh.
bit conservative. You're experimenting with something. These things are extremely risky. They don't work. And be a little bit patient and prudent with all of them.
Yeah, makes sense. If you could have dinner with one famous investor, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would probably have dinner with Jim Simons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bull or bear market, which one do you find more interesting?
I think, everybody loves bull
Bull,
market.
yeah.
Yeah, but bear markets are interesting, right? Because what would work there? That's the bigger challenge. Everything works in the bull market.
That's
but
true.
What's going
That's
to work
true.
in the bear market?
One favorite movie on stock markets?
So I really like the movie Big Short, right? So it was a very interesting journey on how they found out, they could short the market at that point
Yeah.
in time. That was a great
Yeah.
movie.
One favorite book on stock market investing?
So recent book again I read was on Jim Simons, The Man Who Sold the Market.
Okay.
Yeah, I really
Yeah, I
liked
saw
that.
that on Twitter, I think, on your
Yeah,
handle. You had
I keep
posted.
posting about all that. I also read Elon Musk book. It's
Okay.
not about investing, but it's really interesting.
In one word, how would you describe the feeling of spotting a multi-bagger?
That's the best feeling in the world. No? You
Yeah.
feel like you are the
Bhagwan.
the Bhagwan. You can do anything.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Sonam. It was a
Mm.
pleasure having you again, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, great being here.